The massive crystal dome of the Galactic Classification Council gleamed under the three suns of Kepler 438b. Inside the chamber, representatives from 12 different species sat in a perfect circle. Each delegate occupied a seat designed for their unique biology. The air itself was carefully filtered to support multiple forms of life. Ambassador Zethkar of the Vraxian Empire stood at the center podium. His blue-scaled skin reflected the chamber's soft lighting as he activated the holographic display. Three-dimensional images filled the space above their heads, showing a small yellow star surrounded by 8 planets. "Honored council members," Zethkar began, his voice translated instantly into 12 different languages. "We gathered today to classify a new species. They call themselves humans, and they originate from the 3rd planet of the Sol system." Dr. Elena Rodriguez shifted uncomfortably in the observation gallery. She had been studying alien languages for 3 years, ever since humanity made first contact with a Vraxian scout ship near Jupiter. Now she sat next to Captain Jake Morrison, both of them wearing their best diplomatic uniforms. They thought they were here as guests, invited to witness how the galaxy welcomed new members. They had no idea they were on trial. The holographic display changed, showing humanity's timeline. Zethkar pointed to key moments with a laser pointer that worked across all visible spectrums. "Note the rapid progression," he said. "From their first powered flight to faster-than-light travel in only 67 years. Most species take 500 years to achieve such advancement." High Scholar Vextani of the Krillian Collective raised one of her forearms. Her insect-like features twitched as she spoke. "Ambassador Zethkar, please show us their warfare patterns." The display shifted again. Helena's heart sank as she watched images of human conflicts flash before the council. World wars, nuclear weapons, proxy conflicts, and civil wars painted a picture of a violent species. Jake clenched his fists, knowing how this must look to peaceful alien civilizations. "In the past century alone," Zethkar continued, "this species has engaged in over 200 armed conflicts. They have developed weapons capable of destroying their entire planet. Yet they continue to expand into space." Council leader Prime Thesara leaned forward in her crystalline chair. Her transparent body pulsed with different colors as she processed the information. "What is their population growth rate?" 8 billion individuals and rising rapidly," Zethkar replied. "They consume resources at an alarming rate and show no signs of slowing their expansion. Our scouts report they are already planning missions to neighboring star systems." A new voice spoke from the shadows. The Umbral delegate rarely participated in council meetings, preferring to observe from darkness. "Show us their technological adaptations." The hologram displayed human innovations. Zethkar's tone grew more concerned as he explained each development. "They weaponize every discovery. Medical research becomes biological warfare. Space exploration technology becomes missile guidance systems. Even their entertainment industry produces training simulations for combat." Elena wanted to stand up and defend her species. She wanted to explain that humans also created art, music, and literature, that they could love and sacrifice for others, that their conflicts often arose from trying to protect the innocent. But diplomatic protocol kept her silent in the observation gallery. Dr. Ben Murphy, sitting 2 seats away from Elena, took careful notes. The former MIT professor had been assigned to study alien political systems. Now he realized he was witnessing something far more serious than a welcome ceremony. The presentation continued for 2 hours. Zethkar showed human expansion patterns, resource consumption rates, and military capabilities. Every statistic painted humanity as an aggressive, rapidly growing threat to galactic stability. "The species shows classic apex predator behavior," Zethkar concluded. "They adapt quickly, reproduce rapidly, and view conflict as a primary solution to problems. Left unchecked, they could destabilize established galactic order within 50 years. Prime Thesara's body shifted to a deep purple color, indicating serious contemplation. "Council members, you have heard the evidence. The time has come to classify this species according to our established protocols." Elena finally understood what was happening. This was not a welcome ceremony. This was a trial, and humanity was the defendant. The classification system was simple but absolute. Green meant immediate integration into galactic society. Yellow meant cautious contact with restrictions. Red meant extreme threat requiring immediate action. One by one, council members cast their votes. The Vraxian Empire voted red. The Krillian Collective voted red. The Xantheran Republic voted red. Even species that Elena had never heard of voted red. Commander Amy Foster, watching from the gallery security section, felt her hand move instinctively toward her sidearm. As head of diplomatic security, she had prepared for many scenarios. This was not one of them. The final vote was 11 red, 1 abstention. The Aquatic Collective had refused to participate, claiming insufficient data. But their neutrality did not matter. Prime Thisara stood, her crystalline form now glowing bright red to match the verdict. By unanimous decision of the participating council members, the species known as humans is classified as red-level threat to galactic stability. The chamber fell silent except for the hum of life support systems. Elena felt the blood drain from her face. Jake's military training kept him motionless, but she could see the tension in his shoulders. Effective immediately, Prime Thisara continued, all human vessels are restricted to their home system. A quarantine zone of 50 light-years will be established around Sol. Any attempt to breach this containment will be met with military force. Zethkar activated another holographic display showing the quarantine zone. Escort vessels from the Galactic Defense Coalition are already moving into position. Human diplomatic missions will be suspended indefinitely. Elena's mind raced through the implications. Humanity's trade agreements, scientific exchanges, and cultural programs would all end immediately. The 3 human colonies beyond Earth would be cut off from home. Worse, this classification suggested the galaxy saw them as enemies, not potential friends. A soft chime indicated the session was ending. Prime Thisara's final words echoed through the chamber. The Council will monitor the contained species for signs of technological development or aggressive expansion. Future reviews will determine if additional measures are necessary. Elena did not need translation software to understand the threat. Additional measures meant extermination. As the alien delegates filed out of the chamber, Captain Morrison received an urgent communication on his secure channel. The message was brief but clear. Report to your ship immediately. Departure authorized within 1 hour. The 3 humans gathered their materials and left the observation gallery. None of them spoke as they walked through corridors filled with alien beings who now viewed them as threats. The galaxy had made its decision about humanity. The question now was what humanity would do about it. 3 months had passed since the red classification, and Earth felt like a prison. Admiral Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, staring at the tactical display that showed their cage. 50 light-years in every direction, alien ships waited at jump points like guards at a cell door. The hastily built human defense fleet looked pathetic compared to what surrounded them. 47 ships of various sizes, most of them converted civilian vessels with military weapons bolted on. Against the combined might of 12 galactic civilizations, they were hopelessly outmatched. Admiral, we're receiving another scan pulse from the Vraxian checkpoint, reported Lieutenant Commander Pete Davis from the communication station. That's the 15th one today. Lisa nodded grimly. The aliens were not content to simply watch from a distance. Every day brought new scanner sweeps, probe launches, and research vessels that came right up to the quarantine line. They were studying humanity like specimens in a laboratory. Dr. Ben Murphy entered the bridge carrying a thick folder of papers. The former MIT professor looked exhausted, with dark circles under his eyes and coffee stains on his uniform. He had been working around the clock to understand their situation. Admiral, I need to show you something, Ben said, his voice tight with worry. I've been analyzing the alien probe data for the past month. What I found is not good news. Lisa gestured toward the briefing room. They walked past crew members who tried to look busy, but she could see the fear in their eyes. Everyone knew they were trapped, but most did not know how bad things really were. Ben spread his papers across the conference table. Charts, graphs, and translated alien documents covered every surface. The probes are not just watching us, he began. They're mapping everything. Our ship designs, weapon capabilities, population centers, industrial capacity. But more importantly, they're studying our behavior patterns. What do you mean? Lisa asked, though she suspected she already knew. They're learning how we think, Ben replied. Every response we make to their probes, every patrol route we fly, every communication we send. They're building a psychological profile of our entire species. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. How long do we have? Ben pulled out a document with alien writing and human translations. I managed to decode part of a Krillian military transmission. There's something called the Apex Protocol. It's a set of procedures for dealing with what they call predator species. The door opened and Commander Amy Foster entered. She had just returned from a covert mission to the edge of the quarantine zone. Her stealth ship, the UES Shadow, was the only vessel that could get close to alien positions without being detected. Perfect timing, Lisa said. Ben was just explaining the Apex Protocol. Amy sat down heavily, her face grim. Then you need to hear what I found out there. The aliens have been preparing for this moment for decades. They have detailed plans for containing and eliminating species like us. She activated a portable holographic projector, showing images captured during her reconnaissance mission. The display revealed massive alien construction projects just outside the quarantine zone. Shipyards, weapons platforms, and staging areas all pointed toward human space. These installations weren't built in 3 months. Amy continued. Some of them are years old. The galaxy has protocols for species like us because they've done this before. Ben nodded grimly. That matches what I found in the historical records. There have been at least 6 other red classifications in galactic history. 3 species were contained until they destroyed themselves through internal conflict. 2 were relocated to prison worlds in distant galaxies. 1 was completely exterminated. Lisa studied the tactical display showing alien positions. How much time do we have before they move to the next phase? Based on their historical patterns, anywhere from 6 months to 2 years, Ben replied. They're being thorough because we're the most dangerous species they've encountered. Our technology advancement rate scares them. The Admiral stood and walked to the observation window. Earth hung in the distance, a blue marble surrounded by defense platforms and patrol ships. 3 billion people lived their lives unaware that alien forces were planning their extinction. There's something else, Amy said quietly. During my last reconnaissance run, I intercepted communications between the checkpoint commanders. They're not just studying our technology and psychology. They're looking for weaknesses. What kind of weaknesses? Lisa asked. Social divisions, economic pressures, political conflicts. Anything they can exploit to make us turn on ourselves. The Vraxians are particularly interested in our tribal behaviors and resource competition patterns. Ben spread out another set of documents. This supports what I found in their psychological studies. They believe humans are inherently unstable and will eventually destroy themselves if given enough pressure. They're planning to accelerate that process. Lisa felt anger building in her chest. The aliens were not content to simply contain humanity. They wanted to manipulate them into self-destruction. It was a coward's approach to genocide. Admiral, came a voice from the bridge speaker. We're receiving an emergency transmission from the Luna Research Station. Lisa hurried back to the bridge, followed by Ben and Amy. Lieutenant Commander Davis looked up from his station with a pale face. Ma'am, Luna Station reports that alien forces have destroyed Research Platform 7. They claim it was attempting to breach quarantine. The tactical display updated to show the location of the destroyed platform. It had been conducting deep space observations well within the quarantine zone. There was no way it could have threatened the alien perimeter. Survivors? Lisa asked. 14 crew members were aboard. No response to hails. Lisa clenched her fists. Platform 7 had been studying alien ship movements and communication patterns. Its destruction was not about quarantine violations. It was about eliminating witnesses to alien preparations. Amy stepped forward. Admiral, this confirms what my intelligence gathering suggested. They're moving to the next phase earlier than expected. The research platform discovered something they didn't want us to know. Ben was already analyzing the situation. If they're willing to kill civilians for gathering intelligence, it means they're close to implementing whatever plan they have. We might have weeks instead of months. Lisa looked around the bridge at her crew. These men and women had signed up to explore the galaxy and make peaceful contact with alien civilizations. Now they found themselves preparing for a war they could not win through conventional means. Commander Foster, she said, I want you to prepare the Shadow for another reconnaissance mission. We need to know exactly what they're building out there. Admiral, Ben interrupted. If they catch her this time, they'll know we have stealth capabilities. That's one of our few advantages, Lisa nodded. Then we better make sure she doesn't get caught. Because if Ben's research is correct, we're not just fighting for our freedom anymore. We're fighting for our survival as a species. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Somewhere beyond the quarantine line, 12 alien civilizations were preparing to erase humanity from existence. The only question was whether humans would go quietly into extinction or fight back against impossible odds. Admiral Carter made her decision. If the galaxy wanted a war, humanity would give them one they would never forget. Admiral Lisa Carter stood before the holographic display in the war room, studying the quarantine perimeter for the 100th time. Red dots marked alien checkpoint stations at every jump point leading out of human space. Each station was heavily armed and supported by patrol fleets from multiple species. "Operation Breakout is our only chance," she announced to the assembled commanders. "We wait any longer and they'll be ready for whatever we throw at them." Captain Roy Evans leaned forward in his chair. The commander of the UES Reaper was known for taking risks that other captains would never consider. His ship was a converted mining vessel, heavily modified with experimental weapons and armor plating. "Which checkpoints are we hitting, Admiral?" Lisa pointed to 3 locations on the display: Alpha 7, Beta 3, and Gamma 9. These are their weakest positions, but they're still defended by ships twice the size of ours. The real breakthrough will happen here. She indicated a point between Beta 3 and Gamma 9. Once we create chaos at the checkpoints, the main fleet pushes through this gap. Dr. Kevin Torres entered the room carrying a secure data pad. The scientist had been working in hidden facilities on Luna, developing weapons that the aliens had never seen before. His face showed exhaustion, but his eyes held excitement. "Admiral, the new ships are ready," Kevin announced. "We've combined captured alien technology with human engineering principles. The results are beyond what we hoped for." He activated his datapad, and the holographic display changed to show sleek new vessel designs. These ships looked different from anything humanity had built before. Their hulls seemed to shift and adapt even as they watched. "The key breakthrough came from studying Vraxian adaptive shields," Kevin explained. "We discovered how to apply the same principles to our entire ship systems. These vessels can modify their weapons, defenses, and even hull configuration during combat." Commander Susan Blake, head of tactical planning, studied the new designs with interest. "How many do we have?" 12 prototype vessels are operational," Kevin replied. "Each one is crewed by volunteers who understand this is a one-way mission. If the technology falls into alien hands, they'll adapt to counter it within months." Lisa nodded grimly. The new ships represented humanity's best hope, but also their biggest risk. If the breakout failed, they would lose their technological advantage along with their fleet. "Captain Evans, you'll take the Reaper against Checkpoint Alpha 7, Lisa continued. "Your target is a Xantheran battlecruiser with escort frigates. Use conventional tactics initially to make them think they know what you're capable of." Roy smiled coldly. "Let them think they're fighting the same old humans." "I understand, Admiral." Lisa turned to the other commanders. "Captain Lynn Palmer will hit Beta 3 with the destroyer UES Vanguard. Captain Gary Mitchell takes Gamma 9 with the cruiser UES Thunderbolt. Each assault team has 15 minutes to create maximum damage before retreating." Dr. Ben Murphy, who had been quietly taking notes, looked up from his papers. "Admiral, what about their response fleets? Our intelligence shows they have rapid deployment forces positioned throughout the quarantine zone." "That's where the new ships come in," Kevin answered. "While the conventional attacks are happening, our prototype fleet will engage any response forces. Their adaptive technology should buy us enough time for the main breakout." Commander Amy Foster had been studying patrol schedules and communication patterns for weeks. "I've identified a 30-minute window when their coordination will be weakest. If we hit all targets simultaneously during their shift change, we can maximize confusion." Lisa checked the chronometer on the wall. "We launch in 6 hours. Final equipment checks are happening now. Any questions?" Captain Evans raised his hand. "Admiral, what about civilian evacuation? There are research stations and mining operations throughout the system. All non-essential personnel have been moved to Earth or Luna," Lisa replied. "Anyone remaining understands the risks and has chosen to stay." The briefing ended and commanders hurried to their ships. Lisa remained in the war room with Kevin and Ben staring at the tactical display. The next few hours would determine whether humanity gained its freedom or faced extinction. "Kevin, are you certain about the adaptive technology?" Lisa asked. The scientist nodded. "The prototypes performed perfectly in testing. But Admiral, we're asking these ships to do things that should be impossible. The stress on crews will be enormous." Ben looked up from his analysis reports. The psychological studies show our people are ready for this. 3 months of quarantine has unified humanity in ways that peacetime never could. They're fighting for their children's future. 6 hours later, the human fleet moved into position. Captain Evans guided the Reaper toward checkpoint Alpha 7, his crew silent with concentration. The Xantheran battlecruiser hung in space like a massive metallic whale, flanked by 6 escort frigates. "Enemy vessel, you are approaching the quarantine boundary," came the alien transmission. "Reverse course immediately or face destruction." Roy opened communications to his crew. "Remember, they think they know how humans fight. Let's show them something new." The Reaper accelerated directly toward the alien formation. This was not standard human tactics, which favored long-range engagement. The Xantherans were confused but opened fire with their energy weapons. Roy's ship took hits on its forward shields while closing distance. At the last moment, he activated systems that Kevin's team had installed. Electromagnetic pulse generators fired in all directions, overwhelming alien sensors and communication equipment. In the confusion, the Reaper launched a spread of kinetic projectiles directly into the battlecruiser's engine section. The aliens had shields designed to stop energy weapons, but solid metal moving at significant fractions of light speed was something they were not prepared for. The battlecruiser's engines exploded in a cascade of secondary detonations. 2 escort frigates were caught in the blast, their hulls cracked open by debris. The remaining ships tried to coordinate a response, but their communication systems were still recovering from the electromagnetic attack. Similar scenes played out at the other checkpoints. Captain Palmer's destroyer used ramming maneuvers that horrified the aliens, who considered such tactics wastefully primitive. Captain Mitchell deployed suicide drones that adapted their approach based on enemy response patterns. The aliens had spent centuries perfecting warfare according to established rules. Humanity fought like cornered animals with nothing to lose. Commander Blake monitored all 3 battles from the command ship UES Defiance. "Admiral, all checkpoints report successful engagement. Enemy forces are disrupted and falling back." Lisa felt a moment of fierce satisfaction. "Signal the main fleet. Operation Breakout is a go." 60 human ships poured through the gap in the quarantine line. Behind them, alien reinforcements were finally arriving at the checkpoint battles. But they were too late. Humanity had broken free from their cage. The galaxy would never be the same. The emergency session bells rang throughout the crystal spires of the Vraxian capital. Emperor Zalthek stood before the massive communication screen that connected him to the leaders of 11 other civilizations. His blue scales had darkened to almost black, a sign of extreme agitation among his species. "The humans have escaped," he announced, his voice carrying centuries of imperial authority. 3 checkpoints destroyed, 60 vessels through the quarantine line, and worst of all, they used tactics we have never encountered. High Scholar Vextani of the Krillian Collective clicked her mandibles in distress. Her compound eyes reflected the emergency lighting that bathed the council chambers. "Impossible. No contained species has ever broken our perimeter. The protocols have worked for 800 years. Prime Thysera's crystalline form pulsed with angry red light. "Show us the battle recordings." The screen filled with images from the checkpoint battles. Council members watched in horror as human ships performed ramming attacks, used electromagnetic pulse weapons, and deployed suicide drones that adapted their behavior in real time. The footage showed alien commanders frozen with shock as their enemies ignored every rule of civilized warfare. "They fight like primitives," muttered Chancellor Korvex of the Mechanical Intelligence Network. His robotic voice carried digital static that indicated processing overload. "No logical pattern, no predictable strategy. How do we counter chaos itself?" General Patricia Wells stood on the bridge of her command ship, the UES Liberty, as it entered the Kepler 186 system. Her expanded human fleet had grown to over 200 vessels in just 2 weeks. Some were captured alien ships, others were hastily built human designs, and a few were hybrid vessels that combined the best of both technologies. "General, we're detecting automated mining platforms in the asteroid belt," reported Commander Carl Baker from the sensor station. "No defensive installations, minimal security presence." Patricia studied the tactical display. Kepler 186 was exactly the kind of system the aliens considered worthless. Low metal content, no habitable worlds, and far from major shipping routes. That made it perfect for humanity's new strategy. "Begin orbital construction immediately," she ordered. I want supply depots, refueling stations, and defensive platforms operational within 72 hours. Dr. Nicole Sanders entered the bridge carrying her latest analysis reports. The xenobiologist had been studying captured alien technology and communications, trying to understand how their enemies thought and planned. General, I've made a disturbing discovery, Nicole announced. The aliens are not just uniting against us. They're sharing technologies and strategies they've kept secret for centuries. She activated a portable holographic display showing intelligence gathered from intercepted communications. The crystalline hive has given their shield technology to organic species. The machine intelligence network is sharing combat algorithms with biological civilizations. Species that have been enemies for thousands of years are now working together. Patricia felt a chill despite the bridge's warm temperature. How unprecedented is this? Completely, Nicole replied. My analysis of galactic history shows no example of such cooperation between traditional enemies. We've done something that 12 civilizations thought was impossible. We've scared them into unity. Meanwhile, in the throne room of the Xantheran Republic, President Valaktor addressed his military commanders. His reptilian features showed the stress of recent defeats as he pointed to holographic star charts. The humans are not expanding randomly, he explained. They're taking systems we consider strategically worthless, mining worlds, research outposts, and abandoned colonies. Within a month, they've established a network of bases throughout 3 sectors. General Thesic, his most experienced military leader, studied the human expansion pattern. They're avoiding our major fleets and population centers. It's as if they're trying not to provoke a full-scale war. But why? President Valaktor demanded. If they can break our containment, why not attack our homeworlds directly? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Ben Murphy was broadcasting on open channels from a human base in the Ross 128 system. His message was being received by every major alien communication network. To the leaders of the galactic community, Ben's voice carried across space, humanity does not seek conquest. We seek recognition as equals. Your red classification was based on fear of what we might become, not observation of what we are. The transmission continued with detailed psychological profiles of human behavior, explanations of human culture, and most importantly, recordings of human acts of mercy during the checkpoint battles. Footage showed human ships rescuing alien survivors, providing medical aid to wounded enemies, and treating prisoners according to humanitarian principles. Emperor Zalthek watched the transmission with growing confusion. This contradicts everything our classification system predicted. Apex predator species do not show mercy to defeated enemies. But the most disturbing revelation came when Nicole Sanders revealed her ultimate discovery. Hidden deep in the Galactic Classification Council's archives, she had found records of the system's creation. The Red Classification Protocol was not designed by organic intelligence at all. The Apex Protocol was created by an artificial intelligence called the Stability Engine, Nicole explained in her report to General Wells. It was built 800 years ago to prevent any single species from achieving galactic dominance. But the AI was programmed with a fatal flaw. What kind of flaw? Patricia asked. It can only recognize dominance through conquest and control, Nicole replied. The concept of leadership through inspiration or cooperation is outside its programming parameters. Every species it has eliminated was actually trying to unite the galaxy peacefully. This information changed everything. Patricia realized that humanity was not just fighting for survival against 12 alien civilizations. They were fighting against an ancient system designed to prevent galactic unity itself. The war began to shift in unexpected ways. On the front lines, individual alien soldiers started questioning their orders. A Krillian engineer named Vasitke helped repair a damaged human ship after witnessing humans risk their lives to save his wounded comrades. A young Xantheran pilot named Corthina refused to fire on human evacuation vessels carrying civilian refugees. These small acts of rebellion spread like wildfire through alien ranks. The monolithic unity that had formed against humanity began to crack as individual beings recognized the difference between human actions and human classification. Emperor Zalthek received reports of increasing desertion rates among his forces. Soldiers were not fleeing from battle, but refusing to participate in what they were beginning to see as unjust warfare. The humans have introduced a virus into our coalition, he told his advisors. Not a biological virus, but something far more dangerous. They've infected our people with doubt. General Wells stood before her expanded fleet, now numbering over 400 ships. Around her, alien vessels flew alongside human ones, their crews working together on joint missions. The impossible was happening. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy through force. They were transforming it through example. The red classification that was meant to contain them had instead revealed the flaws in a system that had controlled galactic civilization for centuries. The final battle was yet to come, but the war for hearts and minds was already being won. The Nexus system blazed with the light of 1,000 warships. Admiral Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the largest fleet in galactic history assemble before her. 12 civilizations had brought everything they possessed to this final battle. The combined alien armada stretched across space like a metallic constellation. "Admiral, we're detecting over 2,000 enemy vessels," reported Lieutenant Commander Pete Davis, his voice steady despite the overwhelming odds. "Our fleet count is 437 ships." Lisa nodded calmly. Numbers had never been humanity's strength. "Commander Foster, are the broadcasting systems ready?" Amy Foster checked her console displays. "All channels prepared, Admiral. Dr. Turner's Psychological Warfare Division is standing by." Dr. Alex Turner had joined the fleet with a team of psychiatrists, anthropologists, and communication specialists. His mission was not to defeat alien minds, but to reach them. For months, his team had been preparing the most ambitious communication project in human history. "Begin transmission," Lisa ordered. Across every communication frequency used by galactic civilization, a new kind of warfare began. Instead of threats or demands for surrender, human voices started telling stories. Personal accounts of human families, dreams, struggles, and hopes flooded every channel. Maria Santos, a teacher from Mexico City, spoke about her students and their questions about the stars. Robert Kim, a farmer from Iowa, described how he had modified alien agricultural techniques to grow better crops. Jennifer Brown, a doctor from London, explained how she had learned Vraxian medical procedures to save both human and alien patients. The alien fleet commanders tried to block the transmissions, but humanity was broadcasting on frequencies they had never used before. The stories reached individual soldiers, ship crews, and even civilian populations throughout the galaxy. On the bridge of the Vraxian flagship, Emperor Zalthek watched his communication officers struggle to stop the human broadcasts. "Cut all external communications," he ordered. "We will coordinate through encrypted military channels only." But it was too late. The damage was already done. Throughout the alien fleet, individual beings were hearing something they had never encountered. The personal voices of their supposed enemies. "Commander." Tom Bradley led a small strike team aboard a modified transport ship toward the heart of the Nexus system. His mission was to reach the Classification Council chambers on the Central Space Station. Intelligence reports suggested that the stability engine, the AI that had created the red classification system, was housed there. 10 minutes to docking," announced the pilot, Lieutenant Sarah Davis. "Enemy patrols are heavy, but they seem confused by our approach vector." Tom understood why. His ship was not trying to avoid detection. Instead, it was broadcasting continuously on all frequencies, telling the story of Commander Amy Foster's daughter, who had been born during the quarantine and would grow up free because of what they were doing today. The alien patrols could have destroyed the transport easily, but many of their crews hesitated. They had been listening to human stories for hours now, and it was becoming harder to see these beings as monsters. In the main battle zone, the impossible was happening. Ships from both sides were fighting, but the engagement was unlike anything in galactic military history. Human vessels continued their storytelling broadcasts even while under fire. Alien crews found themselves unable to concentrate on targeting systems while listening to accounts of human children, elderly grandparents, and communities working together. Captain Roy Evans, now commanding a hybrid human-alien cruiser called the UES Harmony, engaged a Xantheran battle group. Instead of using conventional weapons, his crew activated every communication system on their ship. "Xantheran vessels, this is Captain Evans," his voice carried across space. "I want to tell you about my crew. Half are human, half are Xantheran defectors who joined us after seeing how we treat prisoners. They're not traitors to your people. They're patriots who believe the galaxy can be better." On the Xantheran flagship, Young pilot Corthina listened to the human captain's words. She had been questioning her orders for weeks, ever since witnessing humans risk their lives to save wounded aliens. Now she made a decision that would change everything. "This is Pilot Corthina to all Xantheran vessels." She broadcast on her squadron's frequency. "I cannot fire on beings who show such mercy. I am standing down." Her squadron leader tried to order her back into formation, but 3 other pilots followed her example. Then 5 more. Within minutes, an entire wing of Xantheran fighters had stopped attacking. The effects spread like wildfire through the alien fleet. Krillian engineers began refusing to repair weapon systems. Vraxian medical teams started treating wounded humans alongside their own injured. Crystalline Hive drones simply stopped following combat orders. Tom Bradley's strike team reached the Classification Council chambers without firing a single shot. The station's defenders had been too busy listening to human stories to mount an effective response. Inside the central computer core, they found what they were looking for. The stability engine was a massive artificial intelligence, its processing systems filling an entire chamber. For 800 years, it had analyzed galactic civilization and eliminated species that might disrupt established order. Its programming was elegant but fatally flawed. Dr. Nicole Sanders was right, Tom reported to Admiral Carter. "This AI can only understand dominance through conquest. It has no programming for leadership through inspiration or cooperation." Tom's team connected their portable computers to the stability engine's input systems. Instead of trying to destroy the AI, they began feeding it new data. Stories of human cooperation, examples of aliens and humans working together, and recordings of individual beings choosing unity over conflict. The AI's processing systems struggled with this information. Its classification algorithms had no framework for understanding species that became stronger through diversity rather than domination. "System error," the stability engine announced in a synthetic voice. "Unable to classify cooperative dominance. Contradiction in primary parameters." As the AI wrestled with concepts outside its programming, something unexpected happened throughout the galaxy. The classification system that had controlled interspecies relations for centuries began to shut down. Admiral Carter watched from her command bridge as the alien fleet simply stopped fighting. Ships from 12 different civilizations drifted in space while their crews tried to understand what they had been doing and why. Emperor Zalthek received a communication request from the human flagship. After 8 centuries of controlled galactic order, he was about to participate in something unprecedented, a conversation between equals. "Admiral Carter," his voice carried exhaustion and confusion, "what do your people want from us?" Lisa's response was simple but revolutionary. "We want to be part of the galaxy, not rule it. We want to contribute our strengths while learning from yours. We want to build something better together." 6 months later, Dr. Elena Rodriguez walked through the rebuilt Classification Council chambers alongside alien scientists from 8 different species. The red classification system had been abolished, replaced by a new framework that celebrated diversity rather than fearing it. The stability engine had been reprogrammed with a simple but powerful new directive: to encourage cooperation and growth rather than preventing change. Its first recommendation was the establishment of joint research facilities where different species could share knowledge and perspectives. Elena paused at the observation gallery where she had first learned of humanity's red classification. How the same chamber hosted daily sessions where species presented their unique contributions to galactic civilization. Humans offered their adaptability and innovation. Vraxians shared their diplomatic experience. Krillians contributed their collective problem-solving abilities. The galaxy had not just survived humanity's introduction, it had been transformed by it. The greatest threat had become the greatest opportunity, proving that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do to a system is to offer it hope for something better. Admiral Carter stood beside Elena, both of them watching young beings from a dozen species working together on projects that would have been impossible under the old system. "Do you think we made the right choice?" Elena asked. Lisa smiled, watching a human child play with Xantheran younglings while their parents discussed joint colonization projects. "Look around, Elena, we didn't just survive. We helped the galaxy remember what it could become." The red classification had ended not with humanity's destruction, but with the birth of a new kind of galactic civilization. One built on cooperation rather than control, diversity rather than conformity, and hope rather than fear. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly what it needed.